Hello everybody, this is Kim, and the purpose of this screencast is to help familiarize our 1st through 8th grade teachers on the process for AIP reporting this year at George I. Sanchez. What you see before you is the AIP eligibility report. This report was generated by the district, and for our 1st through 3rd graders, it's based on their iStation score from last spring, whether they were Tier 3 or Tier 2, and then 4th grade on up, they are using the Park, ELA, and math scores. So that's how they landed on this list, these students. You can see here that it's called an eligibility report. That's because this doesn't mandate an AIP. They may need an AIP, and there's a process that the district talks about here. There's a flow chart that we need to go through. If the student is not proficient on the state mandated assessment, either iStation or Park, if they're not proficient, then we go down to the next level, which is, are they proficient on interim assessments? That would be the iReady assessments and so forth. If they were proficient on iReady, this fall window, we are coming up with a winter window, then you could stop at this time in language arts or mathematics. Or if they're not proficient, but they are able to perform at standard with teachers' classroom differentiation, and that's the key, with support, are they making adequate progress? If that answer is yes, then they might need an AIP. So we have designed a spreadsheet filtering process to help us go through this flowchart to eliminate generating false positives on our AIPs. So what we have here is you will have access to this link. You can see the AIP eligibility report. Down here at the bottom we have tabs. Here are the grade level totals. These are the initial number of students based on this eligibility report in each content area, reading or math, grades 1st through 8th. This is our initial number. We are, after this filtering process, we expect to see lower numbers here because there are some factors that will eliminate students from needing an AIP. So if you scroll along the bottom, you'll see all of our tabs, and they are divided out 4th grade on by reading and math, and we only have reading data for our 1st through 3rd grade kids here. Each of these sheets look the same. You'll see the students on one side. What we'll need teachers to do is go into their tab and look to see if any of their students are on this list. If they are, we'll need you to go ahead and put your name in there and then answer the following questions. These are our eliminating questions. If the student is already in special education in this area, in this case reading, then you would put a yes here. If they are in the SAT process, you would put a yes here. Or if they are performing on a grade level with differentiation and are making adequate progress, you would put a yes here. If you are using your classroom data to make a yes, you'll need to provide 3 points of data. If that's stepping stones assessments, if that's units of study assessments, or what formative assessments, whatever curriculum or classroom-based measures you're using here, you'll need to put here to show that they're proficient. And so over here, the answer is yes to any of these 3 questions, then an AIP would not be necessary at this time. If an AIP is necessary, you would navigate to get the form to our George I. Sanchez website, and you would scroll down to where it says, ta-da, Intervention in SAT. Click on there, and then there is the, where is it? I know it's here, I just saw it. Additional forms, probably that one. Yes, forms to initiate the SAT process. Here's the R1, the CIP Tier 1 form. An AIP and a CIP are exactly the same thing. It uses the same form, and I will explain that a little bit later in the presentation. But here's the form, and this is what you will need to have ready and on your desktop to upload in January. So, finally, now that you have the link to this spreadsheet that I showed you earlier, start working on it. And the goal is that you are ready for the January 2nd in-service, because at that time we will get with your grade levels. We're going to dedicate 1 hour that day. By the way, middle school SLCs are responsible for completing the AIPs together. We'll explain that more to them to come soon. and they will meet and complete the process. You'll have somebody there to show you how to upload either the AIP or the CIP form on January 2nd. Students could potentially just remain with AIP documentation for the rest of the school year if they're making adequate progress. What is adequate progress? Well, that's determined by the teacher, and that needs to be based on the formative assessments that you're using in Tier 1 and that you're collecting throughout the year. As long as they're making adequate progress, they could just sit with an AIP. However, if the student with an AIP is not making adequate progress, they're making no progress, they're flatlining, or they're even going back in progress. Some kids sometimes, unfortunately, go back. Then the next step would be to take them to an initial SAT meeting to initiate Tier 2 interventions in either math or language arts. If a student that you have doesn't appear on the AIP eligibility list and is not in SAT, but you know that they're not making adequate progress, you can initiate a CIP or that R1 form as well. Just means that they don't have to be on that list if you would like to initiate that progress. What's the difference between an AIP and a CIP? Nothing, pretty much nothing. The only difference is that the AIP is district initiated, they come up on that eligibility list, and the CIP is teacher initiated. So both of them, what's trying to say down here is that both of them use the R1 form. Do I exit it? Exits. Yeah, both of them use the R1 form that I showed you earlier. And then, let's see, finally here, am I making you dizzy? And finally, the last word on this is that the AIP and the CIP, which is the first step into a SAT, and the SAT itself is not supposed to be a gateway to special ed testing. They are not synonymous. Yes, you have to have an AIP and SAT to get to special ed testing, but the primary function of an AIP and a SAT Tier 2 intervention is to help teachers and parents communicate to design individualized intervention programs so that students can receive the support that they need. They may stay in Tier 2 and then make progress, and then we exit them out of Tier 2. So don't think because you're having to do an AIP or a student has a SAT that means they're going to special ed testing. It's not necessarily the case. It's on a case-by-case basis. So I hope that this was helpful in showing you how to get started on the AIP process for George A. Sanchez. Remember, again, I'm going to escape out of here. This is what's important right now, is teachers completing this form in their grade level and content area. In middle school, I don't want all just the math teachers sitting down and doing this. The 7th grade SLC 1 and 7th grade SLC 2 can divide students up however they see fit so that the work gets done. I would encourage the grade level leaders from these groups to contact Ms. Espinosa or myself, Ms. Chafkin, to if you need further guidance on how to complete this work so that it's ready for January 2nd. Okay, hopefully I didn't say too many times. Thank you.